All right, everyone, let's dive into Bigbear.ai and really break down what's happening with this stock right now, because there's a lot of action that can't be ignored. The story here is one of strong momentum, huge trading volume, and technical levels that are creating both excitement and caution at the same time. For quite a while, Bigbear.ai was trading underneath that key 200-day moving average, and that was the main wall of resistance I kept talking about. I've been saying for some time now that we need to see this stock break above that zone if it wants to make any meaningful move higher. Back when I was doing one of my options workshops, people asked me about this stock and what to watch for. My answer was simple. Keep your eyes on the 200-day EMA. If it breaks above, that's the first sign that things could heat up. And sure enough, that's exactly what we got. Once the stock climbed over that resistance level, it was like opening the floodgates. A massive spike in volume hit on August 28th, and ever since then, volume has not returned to normal levels. It has remained elevated, showing there's still a lot of interest and speculation flowing into this name. But with that kind of parabolic move comes another side of the story, the question of whether this pace can last or whether we're due for a pullback. Looking at the momentum indicators, things are stretched. On the weekly time frame, the RSI is way up in the mid to high 80s, and even on the monthly, it's running hot in the upper 70s. For context, the daily RSI isn't quite as extreme, sitting closer to neutral, but that's only because of recent consolidation. What this tells me is that the stock could easily cool off, even if only temporarily. A retracement wouldn't be surprising at all here because no stock can go vertical forever. Now, where could it retrace to? If we look at support levels, there are several spots that stand out. We could see a dip back toward the trendline support, which sits around the mid-$5 range. For example, 545 could act as a reset level. That would represent a significant pullback, but it wouldn't break the larger bullish structure. If anything, it could actually set up the next rally leg by cooling off the momentum and letting fresh buyers step in. If that type of pullback happens and the stock can stabilize, then the next upside targets become much more realistic. Breaking above the $6 level would open the door towards $7, and from there, even the $8.50 to $9.30 zone could come into play. In fact, there's a key pivot low on the monthly chart right around $8.56, and another important level at $9.34. If Bigbear.ai can eventually push back toward those levels, that represents close to a 50% potential upside from where we are right now. But it's not just technicals driving this story. The fundamentals matter too, especially for a smaller cap company like this one. Right now, the market cap sits around $1.5 billion, with about 79.5 million shares available in the float. That relatively small float makes the stock highly responsive to volume spikes and news events. It doesn't take much for the price to move sharply in either direction. Of course, with smaller cap stocks like this, there's always the risk of dilution. Companies sometimes raise capital by issuing new shares, and when that happens, it can weigh on the stock price. But ironically, sometimes those capital raises also provide the fuel for the next rally, because the company suddenly has more resources to chase contracts, expand operations, or fund new growth initiatives. Looking at shorter-term action, the 5-minute chart recently showed us breaking below a near-term support area. After slipping under that level, the stock tried to reclaim it during after-hours trading, but volume was too thin, and the candles just couldn't hold above. 4.73 has been a recent low, and below that, the next supports line up around the 200-day EMA and SMA, which are currently converging near $4.57. If those levels fail, then the next major support zone runs from 4.45 down toward $4.55. So here's the way I see it. If Bigbear.ai falls much below $4, things get very interesting. That would put the stock back into bargain territory where even a modestly positive news event could send it flying higher again. And this company does have potential catalysts. They're in the AI space, which is hot, and they've been mentioned in discussions around funding and government contracts. If any of those catalysts hit, the stock could launch on another multi-day run, not just a one-day spike. And that's why I think this stock is still one to keep on the watch list. For the last couple of months, really through July, August, and now into September, it has been all about momentum. Until this company proves it can consistently generate profits, the story here will remain momentum-driven. That means traders will continue to pile in when news or volume spikes hit, and then step aside when the excitement cools. So to wrap this up, Bigbear.ai has already made a huge run, and the technicals suggest it may need a breather. A retracement towards support would not be a bad thing. It could actually set the stage for the next move higher. There's real upside potential if it can stabilize and push above key resistance zones, but there's also risk if dilution or failed support levels come into play. This is a stock with high risk and high reward, and it's going to stay exciting for a while. This is not financial advice.